Well, hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back. I hope you're doing fantastic out there. In this video today, we have an offering from WEISE. This is a 300 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. So let's go ahead and open this up and see what's included. So there you can see the top of the battery. Comes packaged very well in this nice plastic bag. First thing that we see here is this little bag that has a couple accessories. So you got the M8 bolts and you also have the protectors that prevent short circuiting. So very nice that they include that. Next thing that we see here is the user manual. So feel free to pause your screen if there's anything that you want to read a little bit longer. A little bit about the application. There's some warranty information. Here is the battery specifications. The battery that we're looking at today is this one here, this far column, 300 amp hour battery, 3840 on the watt hours. Here's the dimensions all the way at the bottom. 20 inches, 20.6 inches by 9.37 inches by 8.58 inches. So it's a pretty good sized battery. Here is some protection systems talking about the BMS on the battery. And this battery has the smart BMS. I'll talk about it here a little bit more in a minute. Some tips about charging the battery, different methods. Very cool. So you can basically charge these batteries three different ways. You can use them with a generator, you can charge them with a solar charge controller with a solar panel, or you could use them with an electric charger. I like doing it that way myself, with electric charger or a solar panel. Those are my favorite methods. Then it talks a little bit about connections, how you can make some connections. You can run up to 4 of these in parallel or 4 of these in a series. So very, very cool. That's what they would look like in a series. Very nice, easy to read user manual. I like this. Characteristics of a lithium iron phosphate battery. Very nice little charts and stuff that they give you to look at. Very cool. I like the way they package this, and this information is very nice. Charge curve, charging characteristics. Very, very cool. Depth of discharge life curve. Now that is an important chart right there. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the video today. Some troubleshooting information and some warnings to look out for and some tips, and then how to activate the battery. Very cool. Nice little user manual. Next thing that we see is the battery itself. Okay, let's go ahead and grab these rope handles and see if we can pull this thing straight up. Of the box. Let's move the box out of the way. It gives you some information here. Nominal voltage is 12.8 volts. The capacity is 300 amp hour, and that capacity in watt hours is 3,840 watt hours. Charging voltage is between 14.4 volt or 14.6 volt. That's the max for your volt DC. Charge current up to 200 amps maximum. I'll be charging this at 20 amp. Standard or max charge, so your standard charge is 100 amp, and again your max charge is 200 amp. Continuous peak discharge, so 200 amp continuous discharge, and you can peak up to 4 amp as a peak max discharge. That would be, I think, if you have 3 batteries in a series. The operating temperature is between 0 degrees centigrade all the way up to 45 degrees centigrade. Discharge temperature minus 20 centigrade up to 60 degrees centigrade. And then over here it says, caution, do not short circuit this battery, do not crush this battery, do not put it in heat or incinerate it. Do not immerse it in any liquid. Do not disassemble. Only use approved lithium iron phosphate chargers. That's a big one. Store at least 50% capacity and recharge this battery every 3 months. Lightweight and low self-discharge battery. If we spin this around and we look right here, there's this nice little chart here. This talks about how to wire it. You can do 4 batteries in a series configuration or 4 batteries in a parallel. This is parallel here, and this is a series connection. Personally, I like wiring them in parallel because I keep the voltage and I quadruple my amp hour rating. And then here is some notes about series and parallel. Basically, they're saying make sure you charge them before you connect them together. As you can see here, it comes with these little caps that sit on the terminals, and those protect the terminals. They do have these nice rope handles. You can thread the rope through if you wanted to take these off. So it's really nice. You just push this through and then it just sits down just like that, and you have these nice little handles. So what I always like to do whenever I get a new battery is I always like to test the voltage of the battery. So let's get on over to Volt DC. And let's see what kind of voltage this battery has out of the box. 13.18 volts. So we're definitely going to get this battery on the charger. Now, just in case there might be somebody out there that doesn't understand what these little plastic pieces are for, they just cover the terminal bolts. I'll show you that real quick. So you would put your terminal bolt in just like that, and then the corresponding cover will just go right there on the bolt head. So they just go on just like this. It's very simple, and they're effective at preventing, you know, maybe you drop something metal, and it's just real good to prevent these terminals from short circuiting. So it's nice that they include those. And if you're going to store the battery, it would be good to either put these in or have the bolt terminal insulators in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and use this charger. This is a 20 amp lithium iron phosphate battery charger. You can see this little green indicator here. We're going to just connect these alligator clips to the battery. So we'll take the negative right here, clamp that to the negative terminal, and you're going to hear a fan kick on here when I connect the positive. And now we're going to be charging. So while we're charging, I want to talk about some of the specifications of this battery, starting off with the price point. This battery right now, for a 300 amp hour lithium iron phosphate, this one runs 699 bucks. So that's an excellent price point for a battery this size with this capacity. This battery does have a 10-year warranty, which is fantastic. And the company WEISE, they were the #1 lead acid battery company on Amazon. So they're stepping into the lithium iron phosphate battery business. Now, I did a solar installation for my uncle, and we purchased 2 of these batteries and used them for his system, and he is happy with his system. It works fantastic. Now, this battery does have a smart automatic BMS, which is maintenance free, and it has lots of protection systems. So this battery has overcharge protection, over discharge protection, over current protection, short circuit protection, low temperature shutoff protection, as well as high temperature shutoff protection. These protection systems help your battery achieve a longer lifespan. Now the BMS the battery management system, it will automatically cut off the battery voltage. So after that cutoff happens, the battery will automatically reactivate after 1 second, which is absolutely fantastic. The other lithium iron phosphate batteries that I'm used to working with, when the BMS turns off the battery voltage, you have to introduce a higher current of voltage than what the battery's at to wake the battery up. That's what I call BMSing. When a battery does that, I call that BMSing. So again, you don't have to use a higher voltage input anymore to activate the battery. And how would you do that? You would do that by connecting a charger. I usually use a little 5-amp charger to wake up my batteries, and it works great. It's got to be a lithium iron phosphate battery charger. But again, on this particular model, it has a smart BMS, and you don't have to do that. You don't have to introduce voltage when it BMSs out. It takes 1 second and it will try it again. Now they advertise that this battery has a lifespan of 2,000 cycles, which is tremendous amount of runtime. That's 5.5 years. And that 2,000 cycle rate, if you were to charge this thing and discharge it every single day, 365 days out of the year, again, that's 5.4 years of runtime. But we're not gonna run this thing to 100% depth of discharge. That would be foolish to do that. So if we draw this thing down to about 50%, we jump up to about 8,000 cycles. That's absolutely fantastic. And in fact, that's what they suggest how you run this battery. They don't want to see you drop them below 50%. It won't hurt them if you do, but if you do, you know, keep it above 50%, you're gonna get a tremendously longer runtime. So 8,000 cycles at 365 days out of the year, that's over 20 years, folks. That's a long, long time. And if you think about 20 years, it's actually 21.9, almost 22 years. If you think about the lifespan of this battery here, we're looking at almost 22 years. A lead acid battery only can do like 500 cycles, and you can only go down to 50% depth of discharge. If you go further than that, you can actually damage the plates on a lead acid battery, so you wouldn't want to do that. But with these, you're not going to hurt them, you're just going to reduce the amount of cycles. So 500 cycles out of a lead acid battery, what is that? 2-3 years? It's not that much. So when you think about buying a battery, I highly recommend lithium iron phosphate because they have 5 times longer life than your standard lead acid battery, which these also have cold weather protection. And I talked about that earlier, which is very, very important. These batteries, pound for pound, I mean, if we're going to compare watt-hour ratings and amp-hour ratings, these are half the size and weight compared to lead-acid batteries. And they're a perfect upgrade for any deep cycle lead-acid battery. Now, these are not cranking batteries. These aren't for starting a vehicle and stuff like that. These are for different applications. Maybe you want to run a fish finder in your boat or a trolling motor. Maybe you want to do some lights or something like that, or you want to go ice fishing, right? You got a little tent and you want to put some lights and maybe run a little heater or something. You can definitely use a battery like this for that. You can take these camping and charge all your devices, cell phones, cameras, GoPros, whatever you want. All those are just little things that you could do like so many times with a battery like this. You could take this thing out, run a laptop computer for a long time. They're awesome. If you have a home alarm system and you want to use a battery like this as a backup in the event that power goes out, you don't have any power in your wall, you can have a battery like this as a backup system. You can put them in your RV. I run a 300 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery in my Chinook, and it works really good. You can put them in a travel trailer, or you can just have one on hand for an SHTF scenario. Maybe something happens, the grid goes down, power's out, and you need to run your refrigerator so you don't lose all your meat, all your food. Something like this would be an awesome solution for that. Emergency backup power is always something that's good to have. Maybe you want to run security cameras around your property. You got some off-grid land, or maybe even you live in the city and people are messing around in your area. You want to run those cameras whether the grid's up or down, or you got people fooling around outside with your electric lines or your meter loop. Maybe they're going to trip the breaker. This being inside of your home, they cannot turn your power off if this is inside of your house. So you could run them security cameras. Off-grid situations, again, these are perfect for those types of situations. Tiny houses, garages, maybe you got a garage and you want to put a simple little electrical system in. This would be a good solution for that. Or a shed, you want to put some lights in there. Maybe have a little wall strip of outlets and something like that. It would be absolutely fantastic. The big difference between these batteries and lead acid batteries also is that these lithium iron phosphate batteries do not produce an off gas like lead acid batteries do. So what's cool about that is you can live in the same area where this battery is. You could put this in your bedroom and run your computer all day off of it and not have to worry about sleeping at night and having some off gas that's going to make you sick or potentially kill you. These don't have that, so it's very safe. These are environmentally friendly batteries as well. They're made from 100% safe, non-toxic, non-hazardous materials. They won't catch fire even if you puncture them. And I can't say that for lead acid batteries. I can't tell you how many videos I've seen of lead acid batteries catching fire. You can mount this thing in just about any position you want. However, they do recommend that you do keep them upright. But technically, you don't have to do that. You can put these vertical if you really wanted to. You can put them sideways, and you don't have to worry about lead acid flowing or anything like that. You don't have that with these. Again, I'll say that very lightly. I do recommend the same thing that they recommend, and that is keeping these upright as they're intended to be sitting. Now, I know that I've already read some of the specifications on this battery, and my apologies for repeating myself. I do this because some of my viewers like hearing me talk about the specs a couple of times, so this is for them. This weight of the battery is 60.5 pounds. The width of the battery in inches is 20.6 inches wide. It is 9.3 inches deep, so that would be the measurement from the front of the battery to the back of the battery, so 9.3 inches. And the height of the battery is 8.5 inches. Again, the capacity of this battery is a 300 amp hour capacity. The nominal energy that's produced capacity-wise is 3,840 watt hours. The standard charging voltage that we should be using for our charger to charge this battery is between 14.4 volts and 14.6 volts DC, and the discharge cutoff voltage is 10.8 volts. That's the voltage in which the BMS is going to step in and discharge cut off this voltage. Now, standard charging current, it says right here 100 amp. However, I've also read that they recommend 60 amps, so a little bit less. But you can go up to a maximum charging current of 200 amps. I'm using a 20 amp charger. I think it does a good job, takes a little bit of time, but I've never had a problem or anything like that. Slower sometimes is faster, in my opinion. You're not tearing up your equipment, stuff like that. So I go with the 20 amp charger myself. They're cheaper chargers and they work great. Maximum discharge current of the battery is 200 amps. Your peak discharge current at 105 is 400 amps. That's fantastic. The terminal bolts are F12 M8 bolts, and the temperature, like I said earlier, for charging is between 0 degrees centigrade and 45 degrees Celsius or centigrade. So that would be in Fahrenheit, 0 would be 32 degrees, and 45 degrees centigrade would be 113 degrees Fahrenheit. So you don't want to charge them below freezing, and you don't want to charge them above 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Discharging is minus 20 centigrade, which is minus 4 Fahrenheit, up to 60 centigrade, which is 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So charging is when you got to be careful with these things. Discharging, not so much. So at this point, I'm just going to let the battery sit and let this thing charge until this LED turns green. It's going to take a little bit of time. And as you can see now, we have a green charging indicator. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect these alligator clamps. And let's test the voltage of this battery now that we have the charging finished. Hopefully you'll be able to see that number on the screen there. So let's put these test leads there, 14.02 volts. That is fantastic. There we have it. Let's go ahead and hook up the old 2000 watt power inverter. So we'll pull these out. Let's get this negative wire here. Put this one in. And when I touch the positive, it might spark, and if it does, that's normal because it's charging the capacitors in the power inverter. So there's that little spark. You'll only see one spark. If you see more than that, something's not right. So let's go ahead and tighten these up just a little bit more. And now we can turn this power inverter on right there. And I'm just going to set it kind of like that. Hopefully we can see the numbers on the screen. Let's go ahead and start with our little hot plate. This thing draws about 1,000 watts. So we'll just get this plugged in. Crank this up all the way to max, and like I said, this is going to draw about 1,000 watts. So the numbers are saying 984, 1002. We'll just cover that, and we'll bring this water up to a boil. And as you can see, the battery has no problem providing the current for this power inverter to run this hot plate. No problem at all. 982 watts, 1003. Okay, everything is working good so far. Water is at a boil, as you can see. And I want to charge 2 Makita batteries simultaneously. So let's take a look at that. So let's slip these on. Right now we have 983 watts. Now we're going to run 2 batteries. Yeah, as you can see, the indicators on both batteries has turned red. So it means that they're charging, and then when charging is complete, those will turn green. So we are drawing 1,230 watts, 1,320 watts, 1,508 watts. No problem at all. Let's add something else. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this small heater. This is the little My Heat. It's about a 200 watt heater. So we'll just plug this in. Right here we have all 3 outlets on the side of this inverter, and let's turn this bad boy on. 1661, 1685, 1656, and the heater is running. 1772, I think it said, 1781. And as you can see, this battery is running all of this stuff simultaneously. You can hear the fan kicking on. So if you wanted to set up a simple off-grid system where you could do things with power, you can absolutely do that with a battery like this. 1,675 watts. That is fantastic. And I'm feeling this heater. It's putting out plenty of heat. In fact, we have more room that we could run. We could be running a lot more stuff than we are right now. As long as we don't exceed the 2,000 watt rating on this power inverter. Now that does not mean that this battery can't handle it. It just means we're limited to what our power inverter is. So 1,715 watts just a second ago. Let's take a closer look at those numbers. Can you see through that steam there? Let's move that steam out of the way. 1725, 1624, 1711. Not bad. Everything is looking good. So in an off-grid situation, a battery like this would be a fantastic solution for all your power needs. You can run a larger inverter if you choose. You could put a 3000, 3500, and you can load that baby down. This battery is more than capable of that. I'm going to reach over and fill these cables. They are warm to the touch, but not hot. So no problems there. I think the thing is running just fine. Well folks, my final thoughts on this WEISE 300 amp lithium iron phosphate battery. It is absolutely fantastic. If you are in an off-grid situation and you're looking for a good quality battery that's going to last you a long time, this is going to fit your needs, I think. As you can see, it's running everything. 2 battery chargers, still boiling water, running my heater still, 1720 watts. And we're barely scratching the surface on the capacity of what this battery can do. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in this battery, I'll put a link in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to leave comments down below. Like this video, share this video. And until next time, everybody, I hope you guys have a beautiful day. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now, everybody.